When a man stands before the world and declares that he is on a mission from God, it's easy to dismiss it as arrogance or spectacle. But if we look deeper, if we strip away the noise of politics and headlines, we are left with a question that is as old as humanity itself. What does it mean to feel chosen? History is filled with men and women who carried an unshakable sense that their life was being directed by something higher than themselves. That conviction often becomes the fuel that allows them to step into spaces where fear would have silenced another. And whether you agree with Donald Trump or not, the weight of such a declaration forces us to pause. Because when a person believes they are chosen, their entire framework of decision-making shifts. They don't move to please the crowd. They move to fulfill a call. To feel chosen is not about perfection. It is about responsibility. Think about Moses, an imperfect man, flawed, resistant even, but he was called to lead a people out of bondage. Think about David, a shepherd boy who was dismissed by his own family, yet anointed to be king. Being chosen rarely falls on the shoulders of those the world expects. Instead, God has a way of selecting the unexpected, the underestimated, the unconventional. That's because the mission isn't about the vessel, it's about the vision. The vessel can be flawed, but the vision remains holy. And if Trump believes he has been handed such a vision, then the weight is not political, it is existential. It speaks to destiny, to legacy, to the eternal wrestle between human frailty and divine assignment. Now, what happens psychologically to someone who believes they have been marked by God for a mission? They begin to interpret resistance not as rejection, but as refinement. Every attack becomes a test. Every setback feels like preparation. A man who believes he has been chosen will endure ridicule differently because in his mind, the laughter of men pales in comparison to the approval of heaven. That is why chosen people often appear stubborn, unmovable, even reckless to the outside eye. But in their hearts, they are simply aligning with what they believe is eternal truth. Philosophically, this sense of calling reshapes identity. Instead of asking, "What do people think of me?" the chosen person asks, "Am I being faithful to the assignment?" That shift changes everything. Because once the mission is viewed as sacred, compromise becomes betrayal. And betrayal not of people but of God is the one thing a chosen person cannot live with. That's why chosen individuals walk with a boldness that borders on defiance. They are not protecting their reputation, they are guarding their assignment. And this is where the weight of divine calling meets the reality of leadership. If Trump truly believes he is on a mission from God, then every decision he makes is filtered through that belief. To the outsider, it might look like stubborn pride, but to the one carrying it, it feels like obedience. That's why chosen people are often misunderstood. They are measured by human standards while operating from divine conviction. But here's the truth we can't ignore. A mission from God is never about the individual alone. It is always bigger, always broader, always designed to ripple outward and impact others. And that's the dangerous beauty of being chosen. It is both a privilege and a burden. The world may call it ego, but the chosen know it's accountability, because when God chooses you, he also holds you to the fire of responsibility. So whether or not you agree with Trump's politics, one thing remains undeniable. The weight of declaring you are on a mission from God is immense. It shifts how you see yourself, how you see the world, and how you respond to the storms around you. And maybe that's the point, because when someone believes they are chosen, they live differently. They fight differently, and they refuse to be defined by the opinions of men when they are convinced they are walking in the mandate of God. Every great mission carries with it a battlefield that most people cannot see. When Trump speaks about being on a mission from God, it's easy to think only in terms of policy, elections, and public opinion. But underneath those layers lies something more profound, a hidden war that stretches far beyond political theater. Every divine mission is born in conflict, because whenever light begins to rise, darkness resists. Whenever truth starts pushing through, deception pushes back. And this battle isn't waged with swords or bullets. It's waged in the realm of spirit, ideology, and influence. Think about it. From the beginning of time, whenever God set a mission in motion, there was always opposition waiting to confront it. When Moses was called to deliver Israel, Pharaoh's heart hardened. When David was anointed king, Saul sought to kill him. When Jesus began his ministry, religious leaders plotted against him at every step. The mission and the opposition are inseparable, almost as if the resistance itself proves the mission's authenticity. So if Trump's mission is more than just political strategy, then it makes sense that it would stir not just earthly opposition, but spiritual confrontation. Psychologically, this is where the battle becomes most intense. A leader who carries a conviction of divine purpose must wrestle not only with external enemies, but also with the internal voices of doubt, fear, and fatigue. The secret mission isn't just hidden from the public eye, it's often hidden within the leader himself, taking shape in the quiet places of the mind where nobody else can see. That is why chosen individuals often feel misunderstood, isolated, or even attacked by those they thought would stand with them. The mission requires endurance not just against people, but against the very temptation to give up when the weight feels unbearable. And philosophically, the hidden battle exposes the tension between visible reality and invisible truth. To most, what's seen on the surface looks like chaos, division, controversy, endless criticism. But to the one carrying the mission, those surface storms are simply shadows of a larger unseen struggle. It's not merely about political narratives. It's about who shapes the moral and spiritual direction of a nation. It's not just a fight for office. It's a fight for influence, for the heart of a generation, for the soul of a people. And when we understand this, we stop viewing resistance as coincidence and start recognizing it as confirmation. The danger of this hidden battle is that the enemy thrives in distraction. If he can convince you that the mission is just about human opposition, you'll waste your strength fighting the wrong fight. But when you recognize that the real war is spiritual, you begin to move differently. You begin to pray differently. You begin to see beyond personalities and policies into the deeper forces at play. And that shift in awareness is exactly what sustains a chosen person through the fire. But here's the secret: no mission from God is ever carried out in safety. It always demands courage to face what others cannot see, and that's why it feels dangerous, because carrying something divine in a world that thrives on deception will always make you a target. Yet, the very fact that you are targeted is proof that what you carry matters. The invisible warfare that surrounds a chosen life is not there to destroy you. It's there to reveal the weight of your assignment. So when Trump declares he's on a mission from God, whether you agree with him or not, understand this: the declaration itself means he is stepping into a battlefield where the weapons are unseen, but the consequences are real. And the truth is, all of us who dare to step into divine purpose will find ourselves in the same fight. Because the moment you align with heaven's mission, you automatically collide with hell's opposition. One of the clearest signs that a person is walking in purpose is the presence of opposition. Every mission worth pursuing attracts resistance, and the greater the mission, the greater the resistance. When Trump declares that he is on a mission from God, the intensity of the backlash that follows him is not random. It is consistent with a timeless pattern. Those who step into divine assignment are rarely celebrated at first. They are questioned, ridiculed, misrepresented, and attacked, often by the very people they thought would stand with them. But what if the opposition is not proof of failure? What if it is actually confirmation that the mission is real? Look at the stories of those who carried divine assignments throughout history. Joseph had a dream, and his own brothers conspired against him. David was anointed to be king, yet he spent years running from Saul, who sought to destroy him. Jesus healed the sick and raised the dead, but the religious elite plotted his death. The mission always provokes resistance because purpose unsettles systems. It threatens the comfort of the complacent and disrupts the plans of those invested in darkness. The moment someone declares they are chosen, the world begins to test if they truly are. From a psychological standpoint, opposition is a refining fire. It strips away ego, exposing whether the individual is driven by personal ambition or anchored in genuine conviction. A person who is merely seeking approval will crumble under the weight of criticism. But a person who knows they are chosen will see opposition as training, as proof that their faith and endurance are being forged into something stronger. It becomes less about silencing the critics and more about outlasting them. Because the truth is, chosen people do not seek applause, they seek alignment. And alignment requires a willingness to walk through storms that others will avoid. Philosophically, opposition carries a paradox. The very resistance that feels like an obstacle is often the very thing that validates the mission. If a mission provoked no pushback, would it be worth anything at all? If a person claims to be on divine assignment but faces no resistance, perhaps they are not threatening the right systems. Real mission disrupts. It awakens people from slumber, exposes lies, and demands change, and change by nature always invites conflict. The presence of resistance, then, is not an interruption of the mission. It is part of the mission itself. What we often forget is that opposition also serves as a mirror. It reveals who we are when the world is against us. Do we bend under pressure? Do we retaliate in bitterness? Or do we stay anchored in the knowledge that if God has assigned us, no amount of human resistance can cancel his call? The person who knows they are chosen learns to see opposition not as a personal attack, but as a spiritual signal. They recognize that the louder the resistance, the greater the significance of the mission. And so when Trump faces relentless criticism, it's not simply politics at play. It's the reality that declaring a divine mission paints a target on your back. Because when you stand and say you are aligned with heaven, hell itself takes notice. The opposition doesn't disqualify the mission, it confirms it. And the endurance through that opposition is what transforms a fragile declaration into an unshakable testimony. Every mission that comes from God begins with an individual, but it never ends with them. The truth is, no divine calling is designed to remain isolated in the heart of one person. It is always a signal, always a spark meant to ignite something larger than the vessel who carries it. When Trump declares he is on a mission from God, the power of that statement is not just about what it means for him, it's about what it awakens in others. Because real mission is never private. It reverberates, it calls, it summons people into alignment with something bigger than themselves. Think about the way movements are born. One voice rises, one person declares their conviction, and suddenly that declaration begins to stir dormant courage in others. It is almost as if the human spirit recognizes the sound of destiny, even when it comes through unexpected vessels. That is the hidden secret of every divine mission. It is collective. It may start with one, but it is sustained by many. And the measure of its impact is not in the power of the leader's words alone, but in the way those words awaken a sleeping generation. From a psychological perspective, this collective call speaks to something deep within us, the need for meaning, for belonging, for a sense that our lives contribute to something greater than survival. People are not moved by mere politics or rhetoric. They are moved when they sense their own story intersecting with a higher narrative. When one person declares they are chosen, it reminds everyone listening that maybe, just maybe, they too are called to rise. That's why chosen leaders often polarize. Some people resist because they don't want to be awakened, but others respond with passion because their souls recognize that the time for passivity has ended. Philosophically, this unity is essential because no mission from God can thrive in isolation. Divine purpose always expands outward, transforming individuals into communities and communities into movements. That's why every true calling is both a burden and an invitation. It is heavy enough that no single person can carry it alone, yet it is expansive enough to draw others into its orbit. The secret mission is not only about what Trump carries, it's about what you and I are willing to carry alongside him, or alongside anyone who dares to step into their divine assignment. And this is where awakening becomes critical. It's not enough for one person to rise if everyone else stays asleep. A chosen leader may light the torch, but if nobody follows that light, the darkness remains. The invitation of a divine mission is for ordinary people to realize that they too are part of the extraordinary. It is to understand that while the leader may carry the announcement, the people must carry the movement. That is the shift from personal calling to collective transformation. So when Trump frames his role as a mission from God, whether we embrace or reject the politics, the deeper question remains, what will we do with the invitation? Will we dismiss it as noise, or will we allow it to stir something inside us? Because the mission is never meant to be one man's story. It is meant to awaken a people who are ready to rise, ready to resist deception, ready to align themselves with something eternal. And that's the final truth. Missions from God don't end with applause. They end with participation. They end when a community awakens, when people step into their own assignments, when the ripple of one declaration becomes a wave of transformation.